Ayan, ito na naman tayo. So while the traffic is bad, it's an early traffic, considering it's a Saturday. Let's talk about leadership. Leadership on the traffic. I've been watching some videos about leadership lately, especially videos from Simon Sinek and people like him. And there are some inspiring things and quotes that I've been hearing, like the usual difference between a leader and a manager. Like a leader doesn't have to have a position. He says something like, Simon Sinek, he says something like, if you're a leader, you take care of your gang, of your people, right? And you don't even have to be in a position to do that. It's like calling them, "Are you okay?" or talking to them sincerely, or messaging them, because a leader cannot be defined without the followers. A leader is one who takes care of his people. It's a person who focuses more on the task rather than the people. That person may have some positive output that the organization needs. It will be good only in the short term. Why did I say that? Organizations are made up of people, and while you manage the output of people, it may be more or less, depending on a lot of situations, really, depending on the capacity and capabilities of people, depending on how people would produce, right? But if you manage the people instead of the tasks, then more or less, given that the attitude sometimes determines, most of the times, attitude determines the altitude of people and even organizations, then you are bound to realize that you really have to focus on managing people. There are many things that one must consider in managing your people. If you start with the assumption, not even the understanding, but the assumption that your people will always do wrong, that your people is a lazy bunch, that your people is a crazy bunch, as a leader, I'm going to ask you, why the hell did you recruit them? Or if they are already there, why are they still there? Isn't it a reflection of leadership? I've always believed, as Napoleon Bonaparte said, there are no bad soldiers, there are only bad officers. People are going to behave in their positions, in their situations, in their desks, so to speak, or in their workplace position, only insofar as the leader makes them react or behave that way. In a word, people are determined, the behavior of people are determined among many factors, of course, but most especially because of the way they are managed or the way they are led. And it's really hard to accept that at first, if you look at it. But when you see the importance of leadership, when you see the importance of being there for your people and managing them truly, again, managing performance is one, but managing people who eventually will do the performance, then that's another thing. That's a big thing. That for me is the priority, especially here in the Philippines. That's so important because more so, I think, than in other countries, the Filipino person, the Filipino professional, the Filipino worker usually behaves, works, produces along social terms. They don't leave immediately their organizations just because of one lousy person or one lousy leader. Rather, they leave their organizations simply because of a bad supervisor, usually a bad manager. They stay pay, rather, not because of pay, not because certain benefits, but more so because of his co-employees, his co-workers. So with that in mind, you would realize that you have to cater to, having a good relationship among your people. That's one. And of course, one that encompasses is the inspiring leader on top, and then an empowering manager or supervisor that manages their performance. All that have to be anchored on the ideals of the organization, the ideals of the group, the joint commitment of the group that is embedded in the way they operate. If people are more or less unaware about where they're going, where the organization is finally going, you know what I mean, then people lose sight and lose taste of what they want to achieve. And sometimes when that happens, people eventually leave. They don't stay very long, and not for anything, but for the reason that they are unaware of where they're going. I mean, we all know, we all want to know, at least achieve to know, aspire to know where we are going. The goals have to be clear. The alignment of goals has to be there. It has to be there. And when you say alignment of goals, it doesn't mean that, the organization says this, everybody goes that way. No, it's not like that. Rather than aligning to the old George Orwell 1984 kind of thing. Is that 1984? Yes. Yeah. World order kind of thing, like a Nazi world order. No, not that one. I'm talking about the alignment of goals wherein, yes, you have individual goals, you have your own personal goals and aspirations, but somehow they match to the organizational goals, and they contribute to the organizational goals. It doesn't need to be so equal. I mean, that no one is behaving differently, that. It doesn't have to be so united that everybody looks at things in a similar way. No. It can be unity in diversity. There's a diverse, not attitude, but there's a diversity in the organization. There's differences of opinions, but then in the end, it all comes down to just doing what is important, just doing what it takes to make the organization, lift off. For me, that kind of an organization is very much like family, right? A family, one family. There's a father, there's a mother, there's children. They may have different aspirations and dreams and tasks and goals in their, different lives. They have different attitudes. They have different, they're from different generations, and they may quarrel from time to time. They may quarrel on the table. They may quarrel over the phone. They may quarrel everywhere and anywhere. But when an external person, comes in, asks them, "Are you okay?" A good family would always say, "Yes, we are." And that's not just to be, defensive of the organization. Really, they are, because they're family. You cannot, you cannot exchange your family. You cannot change that. Some people lose sight about their own character, and they lose in life. They wander far off, and eventually they don't end up making, getting to their goals, their set goals, simply because they lose sight of what, the organization, what the company, what the family wants. And it has to be that way. If an organization does not take care of its own people in the same way as a family, a good father of the family, the bonus pater familias, takes care of its own, children. If the leader does not take care of its people like that, then there's no point in staying in an organization like that. The organization is an organism. If it's a corporation, then it's a juridical entity. It has its own personality. It's a person. And for me, an organization that does not take care of its own people, it may have success over the short term, maybe intermediate term, maybe for some years, maybe it may seem okay, but then attitude of people creeps in, and in the end all will be lost. The metrics that you have assigned will not be done. People will start leaving. Even the leaders will be disillusioned, so-called leaders, and they will lose sight about what they stand for, the organization. And in the end, people just leave the organization. People would just depart and just leave. In Investors in People, we always say good people make great organizations. You don't really have to be superstars, all of you. It has to be just an average bunch, but are doing doing that amazing teamwork. Everybody is on its own proper tasks. Everybody does its own thing. Unity in diversity, as I said. If everyone does that, if everyone